All things, Brian. Thanks very much for coming on. First things first, congratulations on this year's All-Ireland success as part of the backroom team with Kerry. You know how it feels to win it as a player, but how did it feel to win as a coach? Was there much of a difference, or was the feeling still quite the same?
Yeah, first of all, thanks for having me, Dave. Delighted to be on. But yeah, look, obviously, both as a player or as a coaching staff, it was hugely enjoyable year. You know, when you're putting in all the hard work over the months and it culminates in an All-Ireland, it's hugely enjoyable for everyone involved. I suppose as a player, it's a small bit more special in that, you know, you're growing up kicking ball in the backyard, and winning All-Ireland is what it's all about. You know, when you're dreaming to play for Kerry as a young fella, you're probably not dreaming to coach an All-Ireland winning team, but you're definitely dreaming to play in it. But no, both hugely enjoyable experiences. I think from a coaching point of view, there's definitely an element of relief as well. You know, relief that what you've been working on in training has come to fruition, that your preparation has been good enough, and that your preparation has worked. So there is definitely that kind of side to it as well. So as a player, pure elation. As a coach, definitely a kind of a touch of relief as well, I think.
Talk to me about the year, because I suppose many people, probably including myself, really kind of wrote off this team early doors, especially after the Meath loss. You know, in the round robin. Was that the kind of fuel, do you think, that you needed to actually like carry on and, I suppose, progress further into the year? Was that, I know kind of Paddy Clifford was kind of talking about that the players read all that stuff, but do you think that really was one of the most crucial parts of the team finding the success that they did this year?
Yeah, like it was a challenging year, no doubt. Like there was ups and downs along the way, but like, was it the main kind of fuel that drove us on? I probably wouldn't say so. You know, like of course there was ups and downs. Like in the league there, the Dublin game kind of springs to mind. You know, with a healthy lead there at halftime, we let that one slip in front of our own fans, which was a tough one to take at the time. And then the obvious one was kind of the Meath game, where there was kind of a lot of negativity after that, and look, rightly so. You know, the performance wasn't what it needed to be, like, you know. But I think after a game like that, you know, the highs can be very high and the lows can be very low, and I think it probably just kind of got a small bit out of hand, let's say in terms of media and, you know, the articles that were being put in the paper and stuff. But like, the main fuel for the players, really, I would say it was kind of their own ambition more than any kind of media stuff, you know. I know when I was finishing up as a player, like Shawnee Shea, Paddy Clifford, David Clifford, all these fellas were establishing themselves back then. And I know in that period of time to now, they wouldn't have been happy with one All-Ireland, you know. So I think their main driving factor is the group of players and their kind of burning ambition to succeed. Like just judging off them every night in training, it's obvious to see like that they want more, and they're hungry for more, like which is great.
How exciting has it been to kind of, I suppose, work with such an exciting kind of group in this Kerry panel, and especially for yourself, working with the goalkeepers in Shane Murphy and Shane Ryan?
Absolutely. It was unbelievable. Like the two lads are two of the best keepers in the country, no doubt about it. Like the two Shanes would start on most teams, like, you know, and that's a testament to the two lads. They've been, look, even before I got involved this year, they were All-Ireland winning goalkeepers. So that's just testament to their own hard work being put in. But it was it was a kind of unusual dynamic, really, in that at one stage or another, all three of us were kind of fighting for the Kerry jersey between ourselves. So, you know, when I was coming in, then I kind of had to, you know, not park whatever went on, but, you know, my job was to go in there and coach the lads, obviously. And before we were teammates, now I was kind of going and coaching. But, like, listen, I was never going in there to tell the lads how to be goalkeepers. Like, my role was really just, you know, challenge the guys in training, push them on, so that they're kind of testing their limits and that they're improving, and really get them to the starting line so that they can perform in the games. And after that, other things like, you know, opposition analysis, things that might come up in the game, and then tweaking our kick-out strategy so that they help the boys to perform the best they can, all that kind of stuff. That was my role, really. And I must say, I learned as much off the lads as probably the lads learned off me. They're two real big leaders in the dressing room. So overall, hugely enjoyable experience, and looking forward to next year already.
Talk to me a bit more about your own kind of coaching journey that I think maybe started, was it in and around 2023?
Yeah. I think, do you know what, it was actually around 2021. I kind of dipped the toe in coaching more as kind of to ease my way out of inter-county football more than actually get stuck into coaching. So I retired in kind of January 21, and when you're playing football with Kerry for 9 or 10 years, which I was with the seniors at the time, it's hard to just kind of cut it off. So yeah, as soon as I retired, went on a couple of holidays, enjoyed the downtime, but it does leave a big kind of gulf in your life. And around, I think it was in March or April that year, I got a phone call off the county board to get involved with the development squads. And it was only like 1 day a week for 10 weeks or something. So I said, you know what, it'd be a nice way to kind of ease my way out of the Kerry scene and maybe just, enjoy giving something back to the younger lads, whatever. But little did I know, I ended up embarking on a coaching career that's kind of still going now 4 or 5 years later. But so yeah, as soon as I finished the development squads, I went in with James Costello for a year with the minors, and then I was with Tomas for 2 years with the 20s. So it's been a huge part of my life the last 4 or 5 years. On top of that, then I've been kind of doing goalkeeper workshops around kind of Munster, really, helping out clubs and school teams and things like that, because there's no doubt there's a big kind of gap in the coaching for goalkeepers. It's a really important position, but it's really a position that I don't think a lot of setups and maybe managers at club level know kind of how to deal with. So I could relate to that. I've played on different teams where, as a goalkeeper, you're thrown into a tackle box and you're not really learning much from it. So I could relate to that, and I just really enjoyed, helping out goalkeepers as well. You can see fellas enjoying the sessions, enjoying working on kickouts rather than being in a possession box or something, So that's kind of where it all sprung from, really. And look, as long as I'm enjoying it, I'll keep doing it,
I suppose when you were asked to kind of come in as Brendan Keeley's successor in 2024, or at the start of last year, it was probably just more so really a no-brainer for yourself.
Yeah, look, in a word, yeah, it was. It wasn't something that was on my radar so soon. No, obviously I was with the 20s for a couple of years, so it was probably something that was at the back of my mind maybe 5 years down the line. Was it something I was waiting by the phone for? Definitely not. It was around August, 12 months ago, that got the call off Jack one night after club training. I had no idea that there was changes in his backroom team, so it wasn't something it was on my radar. But I knew as soon as I was talking to Jack, in typical straight talking Jack fashion, he was just like, look, will you come in and throw your lot in with the Kerry seniors and help out the goalies this year? I knew even while I was having the conversation, I was getting excited about it, and that kind of told me, go up my gut here and let's have a go off it, So delighted I did. No, obviously winning the All-Ireland is just kind of the cherry on top, but to be involved with Kerry, it was, like you said, it was a no-brainer.
We'll come back to your kind of coaching in a small bit, Brian, but I just kind of wanted to talk to you about, I suppose, this kind of your most recent outing was this weekend or last weekend with East Kerry in the loss on Saturday against Rathmore. You've been a part of some great East Kerry teams over the last few years and things like that, winning multiple honours. How far off do you think that this East Kerry team is from getting back to where they have been over the last few years?
Yeah, we're still licking our wounds after that one. A tough loss to take now, but no, look, we were poor on the day. We could be a lot better than that, and we should have been a lot better than that. Just the more we kind of tried to fix things the last day, the more things went wrong. And look, that's full credit to Rathmore. They were. I thought they were, after 10 or 15 minutes. I was just kind of thinking to myself, these are really on it today. Like, they were really clever on the ball. They didn't really put anything up for grabs, and then in front of goal, they were really clinical. So look, they gave us no oxygen at all. Really, they managed the game really well. But as for East Kerry, look, I don't know if you're East Kerry coming back. Look, the talent that's inside the dressing room is top notch, and there's always good backroom teams, good management teams put in place to look after them. So I've no doubt about it. East Kerry will be back contesting again next year.
How old were you, Brian, when you made your first senior appearance for Legion?
I would have been 17 playing my first county league game, so that would have been 2007. And I played my first championship game then. So Legion were senior. They won the intermediate in 2005, and we were senior at that time. So my first championship game would have been against Shannon Rangers in 2008. So yeah, I'm feeling old now saying that.
Yeah, I was born in 2001, so not to make you feel too bad.
Oh yeah, that makes me feel better.
Tell me a bit about your own club, Legion, and I suppose, first of all, how much it means to you, and how much it means to so many people in the Killarney area.
Yeah, like the club is everything really. Like, it's where you start. It's where you start and where you finish up. So it's very important to give back to the club, and I'd like to think I've done that with my own club. I've done a lot of work with kind of the underage goalkeepers and different kind of teams underage with the club. So it's hugely important. No, we're very lucky in Legion in that there's a great academy there. There's great people looking after the different teams. And even when I think back to my own kind of days starting out with the seniors, our kind of group there was two kind of groups, two teams came through together. So like myself, Jonathan Lyon, James Donoghue, Podge Connor, that kind of age group. And then a couple of years later, there was another batch of 7 or 8 guys came through. And pretty much the club kind of kept that team together for 10 or 15 years. And some of them are still there up training last night. So it's a great sign of the club that people are so willing to commit to the club for so long and enjoy playing for the club. And there's great pathways there, playing for Legion to express yourself and put yourself in the shop window for Kerry. Like even the O'Donoghue Cup, East Kerry Championship, like huge battles there that go on all right throughout the year. And in fairness to Legion as well, since I started, I think my first county league game was a Division 3 relegation playoff, and all throughout my Legion career, we've been pretty consistent in Division 1, which is a great sign of the club as well. So, look, we're really excited. There's a lot of good young talent coming through. Some of the underage teams are really flying at the moment. So we'll do whatever we can now to hang on to them and to improve them as best we can as they're coming through.
I suppose playing with the Legion and the facilities and the players that are there in the club, and I suppose, going back to 2014 and that All-Ireland win against Donegal, you'd yourself, Jonathan Lyon and James O'Donoghue kind of being a pivotal role in that team. I suppose that's only such a massively proud thing as a club in general.
Oh, absolutely. And the club have put in huge work, even from when I started to play with Legion underage. Fast forward, 25 years to the way the club is now. Like the facilities up there are second to none. There's teams from all over Kerry training in Legion now midweek, because I suppose it's kind of that half point between Killarney and, let's say, South Kerry or West Kerry. There's a lot of teams training in Legion using our facilities because they're so good. We have the floodlit pitch, we've top class gym, stand, all that kind of stuff. And that's just testament to having a great club and great committee members that are putting in the work behind the scenes. So no, hugely proud of the club, and really exciting to see what's coming down the pipeline now.
How do you feel about, I suppose, the future of, I suppose, yourselves in kind of the senior panel, and over the next year or so, just trying to push back to being in the contention for senior football?
So look, obviously we've been intermediate now for the bones of 4 or 5 years, I think. It's not where we want to be, but I think everyone will agree the intermediate championship in Kerry is a minefield. It's really tough to navigate through. So look, our plan is to try and bring through as many young fellas as possible. We've done that this year. Some great additions to the senior squad this year. Came up short again in the semi-final. So it's just about, look, keep bringing them through. Keep trying to hang on to some of the older guys as well, and some of that experience that's in the dressing room, and hopefully, look, we'll marry it together and get the club back up to senior status. But in terms of the foundations, everything's been set. You know, they're, like I said, great facilities, great people, great coaches, and now it's just trying to get the results on the field to match that. Like, so that's the plan anyway. Fingers crossed.
Kind of going on to a bit of your Kerry career now. I could get a few of these stats wrong. You might be able to correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you played 35 games for Kerry, as well as playing under 21 and minor for the Kingdom. I suppose, how did it feel to play for your county for the first time? I think it was, I suppose, in senior level. I think it was back in 2012 against Mayo in the league.
Yeah. That was kind of a funny story, but that actually, like, there was so I was with the under 21s in 2011. No, we on paper we had a star-studded team, but we had a bit of a horror show in the Munster final up against Cork that year. We got annihilated up in Park Irene. So following that, went back to the club, and wasn't really expecting any major progress or call up to the seniors after that. But plugged away with the club. I had trained with the Kerry seniors once or twice in 2011, but I wasn't in there for any great period of time. But in 2012 then, came in home on a Sunday. I'd been downtown Sunday morning. I think I was gone for a walk or something. I left my phone at home, and it just so happened to be April Fool's Day. So I came home, and all the family were in having a cup of tea, and they said, "Oh, you need to ring Dermot Murphy back there. You'll miss call off Dermot Murphy." I said, "Oh, yeah, good one, lads. April Fool's Day, you know." Haha, like, so the family spent about 2 hours trying to convince me to ring Dermot Murphy back, like, ring back this number that just came up on my phone. So I suppose my instinct was, maybe to ring Jonathan Lyon or James Donoghue and ask him for Dermot Murphy's number, but given that it was April Fool's Day, I wasn't trusting anyone. So I eventually rang him back and I didn't really know what he sounded like, so I couldn't be sure of anything. But all he said to me was, "Look, come in training Tuesday night, and sure, we'll see what happens the weekend." So I just kind of nodded away, but I was kind of saying, what do you mean by what happens the weekend? I checked the fixtures, and Kerry were at home to Mayo in the last league game the following Sunday. So I said, this has to be a joke. Like, there's no way I'm going to be playing against Mayo next Sunday. Like, so I went in training anyway Tuesday night, and I kind of sheepishly enough walked into the dressing room, not half knowing, was this still a joke or was it serious? But I had been called in there, thankfully enough. So we trained Tuesday and Thursday, and I got the nod for the Sunday. So 2 sessions in, I got the nod for the last league game, and over in Stack Park. And it's funny, I think we were about 10 minutes into the game where I caught a kind of a routine ball into the square, and I remember Owen Braston, who was playing full-back that day, turned around and said, "Goalie, and passed me the ball." So not even the players I was playing was kind of knew my name at the time. Like, so that was the start of my Kerry career. But look, we stuck around for another few years after that anyway. So all's well is ends well, I suppose.
Being in around Kerry, I suppose, that time, who were kind of some of the people that I suppose really helped you kind of to get your feet on the ground inside the dressing room, and helped you kind of gel into everybody else around you? Yeah,
like we were lucky in that there was a lot of guys my own age just kind of going in there at the time. So like Paul Murphy, Stephen O'Brien, Fionn Fitzgerald, all these kind of guys were called in around that time as well. So I could go in and I could lean on them for advice, or even small things like jumping into the car and getting the drive over to training with the guys there and having the chats in the car. Like that definitely helps, rather than just going into training on your own. So I was able to lean on the lads there, but I'd be honest with you that it was daunting, because you also had the legends of Kerry football inside there as well. So when you go through the names, the Tomás O'Shea's, Paul Galvin's, Donaghy's, Gooch's, they were all still there, and like some of them were in their prime. So you're kind of going, how am I going to impress these guys? Like, but in fairness, they were great. They were great with the young fellas. There was some crack in the dressing room, to be fair, with the lads. Like, they were absolute characters. Like, I remember Mark O'Shea. Anytime a young player came in and he'd have a new pair of boots, like, Mark would make it his business. It was like his go-to thing. He'd go over to them and he'd pick up the boots and he'd start bending them and twisting them and banging them off the table. And yeah, they're a good pair. No, I might get a pair of them. But like, I remember the first time seeing this, I was in stitches laughing, and I'd say in the years that followed, I saw the same skit about 20 times. So it was like his go-to thing with the young fellas, just to kind of break the ice with them. But very funny, very funny. But they were odd. The gang was just, the crack was just unreal, and I think you need that too. You need, they would go through you on the pitch, but inside in the dressing room, the crack was unbelievable. Like Donaghy, Seamus Scanlon, Owen Brosnan, they had this kind of running thing going where they used to go in early after training and they'd go robbing full of shoelaces and things like that. Like, you just couldn't be up to them. And if you got through a session where you weren't the butt of the joke, you were a happy man. Like, so. But look, there was great characters, and I think it's no coincidence that we did pick up an All-Ireland 14 there with a kind of a young group mixed with some of the older guys, because you need that camaraderie, like, you need that togetherness, and that team definitely had that.
You touched there on some of the kind of biggest jokers of your time, I suppose, with Kerry. Who would you say would be kind of the main guilty party there? Who would you say was probably the biggest joker in the dressing room when you were there?
Oh, there was a list of them. You couldn't be up to them. Like Barry John Keane and Gooch, the two of the boys were as thick as thieves. Donaghy, like, at the time, like, I even recently there, I was looking back in some old WhatsApp groups and stuff, and you'll be on about the AI generation that's around now. I think back around 15, the boys had just discovered Photoshop, and like, you couldn't publish some of the stuff that was going on in the WhatsApp group. But no, the crack was just unbelievable with the lads, and great characters throughout. Galvin, Barry John, Donaghy, you couldn't be up to them.
I suppose, John, when you were talking about the jokers kind of part there, and I suppose the camaraderie aspect, that can only really help a team, really, I suppose, to actually gel and go on and win All-Irelands.
Oh, 100%. And like the last thing you want in any kind of team is cliques and, fellas not mingling and not getting to know each other kind of on a personal level. And I think, in fairness, when I go through the kind of great managers that I worked under down through the years, they always made time for kind of building that kind of side of the game into, whether it's our sessions, whether it's post-match kind of events, or even in the off season before we kick off the season, we'd always have maybe a start of year gathering or an end of year gathering, and that kind of stuff is hugely important, because it just breaks down the barriers then between, like, the young guys and the old guys and the experienced fellas with the quiet fella, and that's crucial, and I think that's somewhere in there is where you find real kind of gold and real kind of team bonding and kind of team ethos, really. That's where that's kind of found, I think, to be honest.
Your last All-Ireland final appearance was that final against Donegal in 2014, which you ended up winning, and then to come back in as a coach this year and then to win against Donegal again, it probably must have felt like a kind of a full circle moment for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't be a big Pishogues man myself, but it was actually something herself, my wife, Rianne, mentioned to me in kind of the lead up to the semi-final. I think she turned around to me one evening. She was, what's going to happen? It's going to be like 14 again. It'll be Kerry Donegal, and I said, yeah, hopefully the same result as well. But it was funny the way it panned out, and like, I suppose one of the learnings for me there from that was, like, that was my first year starting for Kerry, the Kerry seniors, and obviously we went along and we won the All-Ireland, and I was kind of thinking, this is great, we'll be winning All-Irelands and picking up medals for fun and going on team holidays every year. But it didn't happen like that. It didn't transpire that way. It was kind of the one and only All-Ireland I won. So definitely, like, they're hard earned, and I'd be stressing that to any guy that probably picked up his first All-Ireland this year, that they don't fall into your lap. They are hard earned, and like, if you look back at any All-Ireland that Kerry have won throughout the years, like, there's always kind of seminal moments throughout the campaigns that if you come through them, they kind of give you the belief to go on and win. And I think you only have to look back to, like, let's say Sligo in 2009, ourselves in 14 in the Gaelic grounds. Like, they were huge games, like monumental games. And then this year again, we were, like you said, we were going into the Armagh game probably up against it, going in as underdogs, and people kind of unsure of where we're at. Are we good enough to go on and do it? And I think the second half in the Armagh game really garnered the belief and gave fellas the kind of the drive and the belief that they could go on and do this, like, and I think that's the kind of big learning that I took from the playing against Donegal, and also then involved in the coaching side of it, like,
I suppose kind of going back to coaching now a small bit more, and even when you're playing as well yourself, how have you kind of had to adapt to the new rules and things like that, when you're both coaching with Kerry and when you're playing yourself for Legion?
Yeah, it was tough this year, I won't lie, because got the call off Jack around this time last year, and then I remember kind of sitting down putting some plans together, and with a whole new set of rules. And I remember thinking, right, I'm after accepting this kind of offer now. I have to try and make sure I'm some bit good at it, like, So I remember sitting down and trying to kind of prioritise what was going to be important, what wasn't, and we had nothing to refer to, so I didn't know at the time. So in fairness to, I must say now, in fairness to Jack and Cian O'Neill and the coaching staff, they were really good at the start of the year. There was a lot of rules there that we were playing challenge games, and we were coming up against players teams who were bringing their goalie up to create the 12v11. There was other teams really working on the 2-point arc. There was teams working on the advanced mark and all this kind of stuff. And I think, in fairness to Jack and the coaches, they kind of trusted the lads' own kind of footballing IQ and their own ability to adapt. And we didn't really ram any coaching points down the players' throats early on. Now we looked after some of the key stuff, like, breaking ball around the middle, but like we weren't really going after the 2-pointers now, for example, and things like that early on. And I think it paid dividends, because halfway through the league, a lot of the rules were changed anyway. So it was actually a great call by the coaches not to really focus in on any one thing too narrowly. But in terms of goalkeeping, yeah, like, the goalkeeping side of things has changed big time, and I think it probably needed to change. If you think back there to a couple of years ago, I don't know, was it the Derry and Kerry game in Croke Park? Like, it was mundane enough stuff, to be honest. There wasn't too much excitement throughout the whole thing, and like that was typical of all the games at that time. I'm only picking out that game as an example, but like, goalkeepers chipping the ball to an unmarked man beside the D, and then getting the ball hand passed back to him, and then this slow build up. It was just zapping the energy out of the game, And in fairness, I must say to the lads in the FRC, they've done a great job. They're after breathing life back into the game. You can see there's huge excitement. There's huge opportunity now for teams, because there's a lot more, balls being banged out to the middle of the field. It's become more of a breaking ball battle, and for many teams, it's become a leveler. They've maybe dipped and they have to kind of readjust. Other teams, it's given them an opportunity to climb up that ladder some bit. So they've been challenging, but definitely, I think, needed. So I'd give the FRC huge kudos there. They've really, really reignited the game of Gaelic football.
Do you like the fact that there's more kind of Route 1 football in terms of, I suppose, goalkeeping? Whereas I know you were kind of saying earlier, it's just usually chipped out 5 yards, and then it's starting from there. But do you like that, I suppose, keepers have to kick probably a bit longer now? I know you can still kick outside the arc, or kick out short, but as long as it goes outside the arc, like, do you kind of enjoy that aspect at all?
Yeah, yeah. I do like it as a spectator. It definitely, now that I'm still playing, it's definitely made our job a lot harder. Like the game is, my own opinion is like the game is all about momentum these days, and you can see there's a lot of games these days where a team races into a 9 or 10 point lead, and then in the second half, because of maybe the elements or what have you, they have to come out and it's kind of backs to the walls and they're kind of trying to look after that 9 or 10 point lead, and we're seeing a lot of comebacks and late winners and things like this, which is hugely exciting. But as a goalkeeper, it's become very difficult, and it's a lot of it is about managing expectation. Like 2 years ago, any coach around the country would have been saying, look, we got to win 90-95% of our kickouts, because that was just the norm at the time. But like that kind of day is gone. You know, if you're going along to the middle of the field with your kickouts, you're going to lose a lot more of them. It's just invariably you're going to lose a lot more. So it's about managing that expectation, but also I think the big thing is the momentum. When you start losing that momentum around the middle of the field, are you able to adapt and manufacture a short one just to kind of get hands back on ball and relieve that pressure? So it's very interesting. It's very interesting, and I think there'll be huge innovation again next year. Like we're only 1 year into the rules. I think everyone was kind of finding their feet this year. So I'm really excited to see what next year brings, because I think teams will really kind of innovate even more and start fine-tuning their tactics and look for some of those loopholes maybe. Because the kickouts are a big thing. And the other thing is, I think the kickouts are actually kind of gone seasonal. What you find around the early stages of the league is a lot of them are going just long to the middle of the field because wet ball, windy conditions, poorer pitches. And then you see when you get to Croke Park, when it's a nice summer's day, you can exploit those kind of short and mid-range kickouts a bit more. So there's nearly a seasonal element to it as well. And I think you're seeing that in the club games now on telly over the weekend and stuff as well. That it's ebbing and flowing, and it's changing as it's going on. So really interested now to see what next year brings.
How do you feel about the new rules in general? Because I know recently there was talk about like a 4-point goal coming in. Do you like the way that they are at the moment, or do you kind of think that you wouldn't mind it coming in, or what are your overall kind of thoughts on it?
Do you know what? They've done really good. They've done really good with the rules, and I don't think we're too far away from getting it kind of as good as it's going to get. They've done really well, and I'm kind of leaning more towards the kind of, right, can we lock something in place here for 5 years, and can we just really go with it? Because there has been a lot of changes over the years, and of course, like I said, a lot of them are needed. And to be fair, I see now they're looking at a couple of tweaks, and nothing seems to be too groundbreaking, but it's just a couple of minor tweaks. But I'd be leaning more towards now it's a case of, you've done a great job, lads. Let's lock it in now for a period of time, and let's see what it can really bring. And let teams bed into it. Let teams get used to it, and take from there. Because, like, even when I look back to my own playing career, there's been so many different kick-out rules. There was, back in my day when I started, there was kickouts from the 6-yard box, and then if the opposition scored, the next kickout was from the 21-yard line, and then the kickouts were brought back to the 13-yard line. So like there's been loads of changes, Dave, and I just think I think we're not too far away from a really good kind of spectacle. So let's lock something in for a period of time, I think.
So before we wrap up, I've just two kind of quick fire kind of things I want to ask you, kind of trivial ones. First one anyway is, if you had to pick your 5 all-time best goalkeepers, either that you've watched, GAA recently, soccer, anything at all, who would you say were the 5 that probably maybe you looked up to most, or that you kind of tried to base your game around?
Yeah, it's funny you say recently, because the first kind of guys that spring to mind are probably the older generation. When you're growing up, kind of watching old Kerry Golden Years tapes and things like that. But I'd have to go in as Johnny Cullity from my own club, the Legion. I couldn't not mention him. Absolute, the biggest superstar to ever come out of Legion. I don't know, James Dunn who like me saying that, but Johnny won All-Irelands in multiple positions, outfield and in goal, which is is just something that I don't think will happen again. You know, unless Shane Ryan has any any notions to come out. But yeah, so Johnny Cullity, he was a great mentor as well to me growing up. He'd always come up to a minor session or an under 16 session and give me some tips and tell me what I'm doing well, but more often than not, tell me what I'm doing wrong. So no, Johnny is sorely missed. He passed away there recently, so I have to give him a mention. He's been a superstar of our club. After that, Diarmaid Murphy, of course, incredible career. He had to bide his time and he had to, take his chance when he got it, and he absolutely did that. I think Murph played for 6 years, and the 6 years he played, they got to the All-Ireland final every year. So that's some career to have. So that's the two. Cluxton, of course, look, you couldn't have any list without his name on it. He kind of changed the game in terms of kickouts, so he's been outstanding as well. And hopefully we've seen blast him on the pitch from a Kerry point of view. But the other two, then I would probably go Charlie Nelligan again, pocket full of medals by him. Really nice guy as well. Gave me some good nuggets of advice and stuff growing up when he didn't need to. I wasn't really familiar with him on a kind of a personal level, but he made himself known a few times to me underage, and I really appreciated that. And the last one then I would go with is Billy Morgan. So Billy, I would have been very close to Billy up in UCC. I was up there doing a Masters in 2014, and I was just around Christmas time, I was juggling a lot, and I nearly packed in the Sigerson. I nearly left it off, just I was too busy, and I was training with Kerry, and I was playing McGrath Cup with Kerry, and I wasn't able to make UCC sessions, and I nearly left off the Sigerson. And what I didn't realise afterwards is, like, we won a great Sigerson. You see that you're totally against the head, and that's what actually springboarded me on to kind of getting on the Kerry team, I think, that year. And look, that was in 2014, so God only knows would I have any All-Ireland only for Billy Morgan that year. So definitely have to give him a mention. So I think I pretty much nailed that there, Dave. The five goalkeeping stalwarts, I think.
And the last one then from me is, if you had to pick a sevens team, which is obviously popular in the last few years, if you had to pick a sevens team of players that you've played with through your career, who do you think would get in?
Yeah. I'm going to insult someone here now, definitely, but there'll be fellas on to me after this. But 7. So we'll go 2 backs, a midfielder, and 3 forwards, I suppose. I'll pick myself since I have the chance to do so. So I'll put myself in goal. At the back, guys I played with, I'll go Mark O'Shea, obviously enough. I think he's kind of the obvious candidate there. Unbelievable player, and even the performance he put in the 14 final was unbelievable that day. He was like a spring chicken around the place that day. He was unreal, and that's even coming towards the tail end of his career at the time. Like, he was unreal. The other back, the other guy that springs to mind now actually is probably a guy that I think doesn't get enough credit. That he's obviously a multiple All-Ireland winner, but I still think he's not talked about enough, and that's Killian Young. I would have been close with Killian now inside with Kerry, and just probably one of the most stylish defenders you'll ever meet. Just so good on the ball, unbelievable reader of the game. So I'll give Killian the nod there. I'm probably insulting someone there now, but midfield, toss of a coin between Maher and Moran, 2 absolute juggernauts midfield. So we'll just give it to Moran, just by a nose. So Moran was unreal, kind of bailed me out plenty of times over the years. So we'll give Moran the nod midfield. Up front, 3 forwards. Look, I suppose we'll go with Clifford and Gooch anyway. Nothing needs to be said about Clifford. I think what he's doing in the game is just, there isn't enough superlatives to mention at this stage. I'll give the other nod to Gooch. I grew up in the same kind of same housing estate as Gooch, just on the outskirts of Killarney, so out in Arch and Avuli, and the games of football and soccer we used to have out there were unbelievable growing up. And I think they'd probably, a couple of those lads, I was kind of the youngest of the gang out there, and I think a couple of them will take credit for putting me in goal, because I used to be playing kick and ball with them out in the backyard and in the backfield in Archan, and they're the guys that kind of shoved me into goal first day, so we'll give them a bit of credit. I go with Cooch there. And other corner, I'll go with, I suppose I'll go with James, my old club. My old club mate, James Dunha. So I suppose the new rules, they kind of suit them, the three up. None of the three of them have any notion of tracking back, so they'll suit the three up rule pretty well, I think.
Yeah, well, Brian, thanks very much for coming on again. I really appreciate you coming on, and best of luck now and everything with Kerry again. That won't be long coming around. So no, it was good to chat to you, and best of luck.
Perfect. Thanks a million, Dave. It's been a pleasure, man. All the best.